Pirates on the open sea? Or are they only fishermen? Unfortunately, in the internet space, pirates and fishermen are equally as dangerous. A couple of days ago, some NFTs on OpenSea started going missing, and a couple of users immediately took to Twitter, to Reddit, and to all other social media to let all OpenSea users know that they should go ahead and quickly revoke access of OpenSea to their NFTs in order to make sure that they don't get taken too. Initially, this was thought to be a hack, exploiting OpenSea's move to a new kind of Ethereum address. And it was thought that these hackers could just take anybody's NFTs as they wanted. However, also since then, the team at OpenSea has investigated this, and so far it seems that it was not a hack in the traditional sense, but rather a phishing attack. So how did they do this? They were sending some emails to OpenSea users, acting like they were OpenSea and telling the users that they needed to follow a link and improve a certain transaction in order to ensure that their NFTs were migrated to the new kind of Ethereum address, exploiting users' expectations that they were going to need to do something. And so they got the email, it looked very official, and it looked like that's just what they need to do to move their NFT. So in this video, I'm just gonna take a few minutes to talk about what happened, let you know what things are like now, and tell you a few tips for you to stay safe in the future. Wait, before we start, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. This attack happened as OpenSea was migrating all of their NFTs from an older Ethereum contract to a newer version of that contract for security purposes. Now, because this attack happened at that time, it's got a lot of people questioning if this new contract is still safe or not. So we'll also take a look into that question. But first, naturally, the OpenSea team has delved deep into this matter, investigating it, and they've posted the results of their investigation on their Twitter. So let's take a quick look at that, get a little down and dirty of what happened. Now, according to OpenSea's Twitter, they have not yet determined the exact source, at least at the time that I'm filming this video, but they did share some updates anyway. Originally, they thought that 32 people's NFTs had been taken. Now they're saying it seems it was 17. Their original count included anyone who had interacted with the attacker, rather than people whose NFTs actually were lost. Again, at the time that I'm recording this, OpenSea says that there hasn't been any activity on the malicious contract in more than 15 hours. That was 5 hours ago. So at the time of recording this, 20 hours, I guess, with no malicious activity on that contract. It seems that the attack hopefully is done. All right, those are the tweets from OpenSea's Twitter account, but OpenSea's CTO, Nadav Hollander, has also shared a thread about the investigation. First of all of the malicious orders contain valid signatures from the affected users, which almost definitely means that the users themselves actually did sign an order somewhere at some point in time. However, according to Nadav, none of these orders were broadcast to OpenSea at the time of signing. He also points out that none of these orders were executed against the new kind of contract using Wyvern 2.3, which indicates that they were signed actually before the migration and unlikely to be related to OpenSea's migration flow. According to their investigations, a phishing operation was executed ahead of the deprecation of the 2.2 contract, giving the impending invalidation of these collected malicious orders. So aside from obviously not wanting to get caught, probably part of the reason that whoever was doing the phishing attack moved so quickly was because after those orders were no longer valid, then they wouldn't have been able to use them to sell the NFTs anymore. Now we get to the important part. Nadav mentions that this phishing scam actually highlights why they were moving to EIP 712 in the first place. Because this new contract type, EIP 712, actually focuses on making it more difficult for bad actors to trick someone into signing an order without realizing it. In his thread, Nadav just says that it's much more likely to alert you if something unusual is going on. In a second, we'll go ahead and go look deeper into EIP 712 and figure out why that actually is, and if he's right. He then mentions that the education about not sharing seed phrases or submitting unknown transactions has become more widespread, so that's a good thing. Then he points out that signing off-chain messages requires equal consideration. This is actually what was exploited by the person doing the phishing attack. He then goes on to mention again that now that the migration is done, all of the new orders signed on OpenSea use EIP 712 because of exactly this reason. EIP 712 is more likely to show you if something is weird or off about anything you're being asked to sign. So let's hop over and look at EIP 712 and see what it's about. Is it actually safe, or is it what was attacked? So here's EIP 712's page on ethereum.org. It's called Ethereum Typed Structured Data Hashing and Signing. Very easy name there. It's very long, like everything on here, because of course new Ethereum contracts are quite complicated and there's a lot to know if you're really digging into it. But luckily for us, they have the simple summary. Signing data is a solved problem. If all we care about are byte strings. Okay, so maybe it's not too simple because it uses the word byte strings. Unfortunately, in the real world, we care about complex, meaningful messages. Hashing structured data is non-trivial, and errors result in loss of the security properties of the system. True. As such, the adage, don't roll your own crypto applies. Instead, a peer-reviewed, well-tested standard method needs to be used. This EIP aims to be that standard. So here you can see the new standard for hashing and signing. Structured data, as opposed to just byte strings, includes all of these things. Now, that information doesn't really tell us what's going on if we don't know a little bit more about off-chain messages. As they say here, they're seeing a growing adoption of off-chain message signing as it saves on gas, which if you've used Ethereum, you know you want to save on gas, and reduces the number of transactions on the blockchain. Again, saving on gas. Currently, signed messages are an opaque hex string displayed to the user with little context about the items that make up the message. That's the important part. There's little context. Even if you know what you're doing, this hex string does not tell you much about what it actually is. It's really hard to identify if it's something that is normal, or if it's what you want to do, or if it's something sus. So here's what these messages look like now. They do have a little disclaimer saying that these are sort of dangerous, and then the message is just this, which is really hard to get any information from. So what they're trying to move to is a message that looks, for example, more like this. Letting you know more of the details about it, where it comes from, give you the domain name and the URL, plus the contract. Then you can find for mail, what person it's from, what their wallet is. You could go to Etherscan to find their wallet, who it's to, and even the contents like a message. So as you can see, it seems that Nadav was not wrong. This would help you a lot to know if it's correct or not. If you see the domain and the URL, then you can see if it's the actual OpenSea website. Whereas with the older version, you only have that hex string and you don't really know where it's from. Even aside from being able to see the website, if you don't have that, you would be able to look up the wallet of the person on Etherscan, which would give you information about if it's a correct one or not, and other information that would just help you realize if it's shady or not shady. Then we get all of the much more detailed technical information that if we trust that they know what they're doing, we maybe don't actually need to know. So to recap, people saw that NFTs were going missing on OpenSea, and everybody suspected that there was some sort of hack exploiting the migration to the new kind of Ethereum contract. However, after further investigation, it seems that it was actually just a phishing attack, so the actual contracts seemed to be truly secure. And instead, what was exploited was people's expectations of needing to do something to migrate to the new ones. So OpenSea users had previously gotten notifications that they were going to need to migrate their NFTs to the new kind of contract for security, but that opened them up to the idea of needing to do something, some kind of unusual interaction with OpenSea. Then the attacker exploited this expectation by creating a very realistic looking email to the users and telling them that they needed to do this thing, which was actually just giving the phishing attacker access to their NFTs, which the attacker immediately sold and got the ETH. So at the point of recording this, the attacker hasn't been found, but the attacks have stopped. And OpenSea has migrated all of the NFTs to the new kind of contract, which is called EIP 721. So if all the results of the investigation are correct, then that means this attack has totally stopped, as the new NFTs are on the new kind of contract, which gives you more information. However, EIP 721 doesn't make phishing attacks go away. It just gives users more information to work with to try to protect themselves. So let's all take this recent OpenSea attack as a reminder to be very careful about people phishing, because that's happening all the time in crypto and everywhere on the internet. People trying to act like they're somebody else just to get your information and get whatever assets they can with that information. Or in this case, just directly get the assets because you approved the transaction of the assets to their wallet. So again, the good thing about EIP 721 is that it gives you more information to work with to protect yourself. So not only when you get emails should you double, triple check all of the information about it, make sure it's coming from the right address, but in fact, most places aren't going to email you with any link that takes you to anything outside of their site. Emails from a platform generally are just to confirm your email or confirm what you're doing on their site by sending something to your email. So links from a platform such as OpenSea should almost always redirect to OpenSea. So that's one thing to remember. A second thing to remember, where's the email coming from? Double check if it's the official email source. If it takes you outside of the platform, be super, super suspicious. Then, even if you do go to the platform, before you do any of your transactions, remember to double, triple, and quadruple check that you are on the correct URL, because another kind of phishing attack is to make fake websites of trusted websites. All right, I think I've talked about this enough. Just remember to stay careful out there, not only on the OpenSea, but anywhere you are in the crypto space. Remember that there's always phishermen going after your information, and that you always need to be checking and double checking, triple checking, quadruple checking, and checking and checking and checking where you are, who's talking to you, and making sure it's really who you think it is. All right, that's enough for today. See you guys next time.